Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I have a pretty simple walkthrough video for you, and that's going to be on my roll cage. Now I got a lot of requests about this video, mostly back when I was doing the blower. Pretty much you guys want to see, you want to walk through on the roll cage, how I installed it, which one I used, things you might run into. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. One thing to know, when I installed this thing, I wasn't really trying to adhere to like NHRA specifications. I did look them up, I did use them as a guideline, but my sole purpose wasn't to get it NHRA approved. It was really just to stiffen up the body a little bit and allow me to have a harness bar for my new seats I was putting in. All right, so getting started, this is technically an 8-point cage. It was an 8-point kit I got from Jegs. I just looked out the two front pieces that go from the back here to your feet, solely because one thing, the armrest would have to go because that bar passes right through there. And to make that work, you have to get rid of the armrest. The other reason was, any of you guys who have a Thirdgen know that these doors are ridiculously long. Not only heavy, but long. Driving this thing on the street, you know, I take it places, I go to stores, I grab coffee with it. I'm in parking lots. I try to park away from everybody else whenever I can. But being these doors are so long, I'm sure you guys know, sometimes you get a car that even if they're, you know, a good ways away from you, you can only open the door up maybe like that much just because of how long they are, and then you have that much space to get out. Usually what I do when I'm getting out, I put my hand like this so I could pretty much go right up against the other car almost. So with that being said, for the cage, that's the whole reason I left these two bars out, because if you have this bar coming right through the seat here and down to your feet, and then on top of that, trying to get out of your car with the door open that much, you're gonna have that pipe in the way. It's gonna be a huge pain in the ass. So that's why I decided to leave them out. Between that and, as I said, having to remove the armrest here, I didn't want to have to get rid of that. I know there is kind of a way around it if you get the latching sidebar where it's hinged on one side, and then one side it comes out, so you can unhinge it as you get out. Still, even with that, I feel like it's going to be in the way driving on the street a lot. I still do have the bars, so if I ever want to add them, I can do that later on. But for now, I'm just running a 6-point. I did get this from Jegs maybe 2 years ago. I got an incredible deal on it. I paid 90 bucks shipped for it. I was trying to look before I shot this video for the exact one I got again. I couldn't find it. I found one that's similar, and I'm gonna post it in the description, but it's not 90 bucks. I don't know how I got it for that cheap. Maybe it was like a clearance item. But literally when they delivered it, it was just it was a pile of steel pipe. The only thing that kind of looked like a cage was the actual hoop, because that's pre-bent obviously. So yeah, a lot of fabrication is involved with getting this thing installed. I couldn't find any NHRA specs online aside from this article I found on installing a 10-point cage, so I'm going to link that in the description, and all the rules listed in that article is pretty much what I was going by. All right, so on to the installation. Now, the first thing I did was install the hoop. I had to go in here with a ratcheting strap and ratchet these two pieces in just to get them to draw in, because otherwise this pipe was pretty much sitting out here on both sides. So I ratcheted that in, got it to a nice position. You can see under here, this is where I have the plate welded in. And then for the height, I cut maybe an inch off the bottom on both sides to get the height right. If you look at that article, it states that the NHRA needs the top of the cage to be within an inch of the roof of the car or the headliner, and that's what I did right there. As I was cutting that down, I just measured and made sure that I didn't cut too much off so it wasn't going to be too low. And where I have it now is within an inch of the headliner. You can see I could just fit the GoPro mount on there. As for the helmet specification, as far as the top of the bar being at least 3 inches above the top of the driver's helmet, I never actually measured that. I'm not sure where it's going to fall as far as that goes. And you guys who have aftermarket seats in these cars know that a lot of times they sit too high, and people actually hit their head on the roof of the car, and they have to go and make like custom seat brackets or get low profile ones to dip the seats down. I'm using 4th gen sliders with mine. Definitely probably lower than most aftermarket seats. I know if you use the Corbeau sliders, they sit relatively high, and I got a lot of messages about that on Instagram. So once I had the hoop all in place, I went and just I saw where it was gonna fall. I went in here with these 6x6 plates they give you and just welded it right to the floor, same spot on both sides. And that's also required by the NHRA rules. You need to have these plates welded onto the car where your pipes are going to be connected. And the kit actually does give you 6 of these plates. I'm not sure if you really need them for the trans tunnel. I put, being mine is a 6-point, I actually use 1 plate for each point. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 2 back ones are 5 and 6. I think the way you're supposed to do it is have 2 of them for the front pieces, 2 for the hoop, and 2 for the back. I don't know if you really need the reinforcement plates for the trans tunnel part. Anybody who knows about this, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it's an 8-point cage and they only gave me 6 of those floor plates. But for me, it actually worked out fine. As I said, I wasn't using the front 2 pieces, so I just used a plate for each point in the cage. Then for the actual harness bar going across, pretty much position this so when your harnesses are going to be installed, you want to have this relatively level with the hole going through the seat. You can't have them angled all the way down like this, so don't have the bar all the way down here. Just install it with your seats just to get an idea of where your harness is going to sit, and try to get this as straight as possible. All right, so now for the 2 back bars. Now when I installed this cage, I was running full interior, so I did have my back seats. How that actually affected me installing this was I put these bars all the way back here just because when the seats were installed, they wouldn't fold up if I had them any closer. Now, a better way to install these would have been to put them closer by the shock mounts. So any of you guys doing a new install, I would recommend moving them over a tiny bit and welding them maybe like back here where the actual shocks are. That's just going to aid in rigidity a little bit better than having them all the way in the back. But for the NHRA rules, there was really nothing set in stone on how you got to mount these. All it really says is they have to be secured to the floor in the back of the car. It doesn't say the angle, it doesn't say how far back. At least I couldn't find anything. So the way I have this should be good, but if you want to, you know, take advantage and get a little more structural rigidity out of the thing, I would definitely recommend cutting them shorter and mounting them in this area right here, just to support the shock mounts a little bit better. Now for the last connections, the 2 bars coming down from the corner here, connecting to the trans tunnel. I didn't follow any spec for that. I just kind of went in there, welded the plates, eyeballed it so they looked straight, and welded them in. For actually making all the cuts, the way the cage actually comes, everything's cut to length. Nothing is absolutely perfect that it just fits in there and it's like made for the car. As I said, even the hoop requires some modifications to get it to fit in there perfectly. But for actually making all the connections, the way the pipes in this kit came, one side is already notched. So like one side would have the notch in it, then the other side is just straight, and you cut that side to length, and you have to make the notch yourself so you can actually weld it in place. For all those connections, I just use a grinding wheel with a cutting disc, a grinding disc, and just like a Sharpie, and that's how I made all the connections. The only tip I could really give you guys when it comes to cutting these, the way I did it, I used a marker where I'm gonna make the cut. So you can see here where the curve here is actually touching the pipe. The way I cut it was from the other side. So if I move this foam out of the way, on the top here, where it's actually where the actual notch is, I just used a Sharpie. I put a line at the point where it's going to intersect the top, and a line at the bottom, and then I just came in here with the cutting wheel on an angle and just centered it on that mark and just cut at an angle, and then went in there with the grinding wheel and just kind of took away any extra material until these two pretty much interlocked perfectly and there was no gap. By marking the top and the bottom with the Sharpie, you know that both cuts are going to be perfectly in line with each other. And then once everything was welded in place and I was happy with it, I just went in there with a flap disc, cleaned any slag off, cleaned all the pipes down, and then just sprayed them with some satin black Kryline, and that's it. Paint's been holding up great. I think that covers just about everything. Any questions you guys might have, please feel free to leave a comment. I try to read and answer any questions that you guys have, so if I left something out or if you're not sure of something, definitely please comment below. But overall, my goal for when I was installing this was primarily, really I needed a harness bar. I got these seats, and after looking online, nobody made a harness bar for this car. I still don't think they do. I saw the cage for the great price from Jegs, and I said, screw it, I'm just gonna go install the whole cage. And I got my harness bar out of it, as well as it really stiffened the car up. Also, you can see my headliner is in complete shit shape. This is gonna be the next video. We're gonna be replacing this, putting the black one in here, so that should be fun. I might actually go and recover the black one just because I'm gonna still have holes. You can see back there where the old seat belts used to be. So I might just strip the thing down and recover it. That'll probably make a really good video. I'll show you guys how to reinforce it with fiberglass and go about recovering the entire thing. The thing that I'm going to address is my catch can setup. Now the problem that I'm having is under boost, the excess pressure in the crankcase is blowing the dipstick out. You can see I just popped the hood now and my dipstick's sticking up again. Depending on how hard I hit it, a lot of times oil comes out of this and just sprays the side of the engine bay, and that's just because my catch can isn't really set up properly. When I installed this, I should have installed two, or at least vented this. The way I had it before when I went to get it tuned, I had that valve cover there is coming through to the catch can here, and then it goes to the intake. And this valve cover, I just had a breather filter on. The tuner went and just tied it into this, because if I just left that breather on there, that was just gonna start spraying oil out once the thing hit boost. The only problem is now, with the dipstick fully down, the crankcase is under incredible vacuum, and it actually starts whistling through the dipstick. So to get around that, I went and picked up another one of these guys. I'm gonna figure out where I wanna mount it, and all I'm gonna do is run the clean side, this valve cover, I'm gonna run that to its own catch can, and then either run the other hose over to the intake here, or just put a filter on it and vent it out. And you can see I got my new bypass valve installed, so the car is up and running and back to its old self. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video. I'm gonna leave a link to the cage that I found on Jegs down below, the one that, the 8-point that closely replicates the one that I have in the car now. I'm also gonna put a link to that article as far as the NHRA guidelines when installing a cage. Be on the lookout for my next video. I will be doing the headliner, either installing the other one. Most likely I'm going to be relining the black one that I picked up, just to fill in the seatbelt holes and make it look a little nicer. I also do plan on bringing the car to the track before the end of the year. Hopefully I'm not going to blow the rear up again. I'm going to stay away from the burnouts, but if it did happen, I won't be too sad, because I do have something on the way, which you'll see in upcoming videos. But let's just say that the 10 bolt is going to be going bye-bye. So it'll be cool to see, you know, what the car is going to do on street tires with the 10 bolts. I'm going to guess really terrible 60 foots and a shitload of wheel spin. Link to my Instagram is going to be down below as always. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. And one more thing I want to show you guys is my hatch motor still works. I get a lot of comments regarding how to repair these things. Fortunately, mine is still working, so I didn't have to go down that road yet. Hopefully, I won't have to, but believe me, if this thing stops working, you guys will be the first to hear about it.